Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Good evening, ma'am.
My screen is visible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So today we are going to discuss the most important topic, which is known as activation function. And today I will demonstrate all possible kind of activation functions that are used for ANN or any kind of deep neural network design. So what is this activation function is all about? See, activation functions are a critical part of the design of neural network. We have already discussed this concept in the previous class. But whenever we are talking about an activation function in a neural network, it defines how the weighted sum, that is, we were calculating, that is weight into input, another weight into another input. So this is known as weighted sum, right? So activation function in neural network defines how the weighted sum in the input is transformed into an output from a node, right? So this is the main concept. So whenever we are talking about input layer with some neurons, so we have the concept of weights and inputs, right? And whenever it is going through the hidden layer, and finally we will get some output in the neuron of the output layer. So activation function basically deals with transferring this weighted sum from one node to another node. So this is the basic concept. Now, a network may have three types of layer. That is input layer that take the raw input from some particular domain to hidden layer, and hidden layer that takes the input from another layer and pass it to the output layer, and output layer basically makes the prediction. So this is the very basic concept of neural network. Now first we will talk about activation function. Means how we can define this activation function in hidden layer. Then I move on to the activation function defined on the output layer. So first focus on the hidden layer, means how these activation functions are designed in the hidden layer. So there are perhaps three activation function you can consider or you can find. The first one is known as rectified linear activation, which is also known as ReLU activation. The second kind of activation you may find, that is logistic, or it is also known as sigmoid activation. And the third activation is known as hyperbolic tangent. Hyperbolic tangent, or you can consider it as TANH activation function, right? So we will start from rectified linear activation function and how we can design all these activation functions in our code. So what is our intention? That is, whenever we are writing any code, neural network code, in the previous class I have discussed that while writing the neural network designing code, whenever you are designing the concept of activation function in the code, this part can be modified depending on your prediction requirement. Means what kind of prediction you are going to do, according to the need of that prediction, you can change this concept of activation function. Also, we can change this activation function depending on what kind of neural network we are using. Means whether we are using feed-forward neural network, whether we are using convolution neural network. So here my point is, depending on the network architecture, the type of activation function will differ. So in the first part of the training session, we will discuss how to design this part, means how to design this segment of the code where we can write our own Python code in order to create the activation function according to our need. So let's start with this ReLU function. What is this ReLU function and how we can write this code? Now consider this coding one by one. I'm just showing it to you. See, you may find one piece of code over here. In this code, what I have designed. So in this code, I have designed the activation function which is known as ReLU function. But how I have designed this code, before that I want to tell you what is the formula of writing ReLU function. So what is this ReLU function is all about? See, ReLU function calculates maximum of 0.0 and x, where x is considered as input. It means what? It means that if your input value x is negative, then the value 0.0 is returned. Means the actual functionality of ReLU function is, whenever you have got two values, it will send you, means it will give you an output of maximum of these two numbers. So whenever your input is negative, it will give you 0. So this is the functionality. Now the thing you have to understand, whenever we are going to design the activation function in Python, we have to write function. So how these codes will look like? First you need one library. Which library? You need PyPlot library, which is coming from matplotlib. So you need this code from matplotlib. You have to import one library which is known as PyPlot. So this part is common. Then you have to define one function in order to design your own activation function. So how you can write function in Python? For that purpose, you have to write def. Def is the keyword, and then you can write any function name. Say rectified, that is a ReLU function, and then you have to specify the input. Say here our input is x. So this is act as an argument, and then you have to use one colon. Afterwards, you have to write return keyword, and then you can write the function. Means for ReLU, it will return the maximum between these two numbers. So whenever you are writing any other activation function, then the only thing you have to change is the formula. The rest of the part will be same. And then what you can do at this point of time, you can generate randomly some inputs. Means how you can generate random inputs? You can use a loop. Loop means say x is within a range of say -10 to 10. So any arbitrary range you can use in order to generate some random input, and then accordingly you can calculate the output, and then you can plot the activation function. So first you have to use PyPlot, this library function, and then you have to define the activation function, and then you can design the range of your input, and accordingly you can calculate the output and you can plot the function. So see here. So here what we have done, here say this is the pie plot which is imported from matplotlib, and here I have designed one function which is known as rectified function, and the max of 0.0 comma x is returned, and then I have designed inputs. Inputs means it's an arbitrary range, minus 10 to 10. You can take any range according to your problem formulation, and then I have created the output, means output is calculated, and then I have plotted the activation function within that specified range, and this is how the activation function will look like, right? So when using the ReLU function for hidden layer, just remember one point, there is one concept which is known as He normal or He uniform weight initialization. So it's a kind of concept. So whenever you are using ReLU activation function, in the previous class I have discussed that you have to assign the weights randomly. So whenever you are using ReLU at that point of time, instead of assigning weights randomly, people prefer to use He normalization or He uniform concept. So it is a weight initialization concept, right? So this is the other part. I'm not going into that details. So this is how you can design ReLU function for your own code. So what you have to do, whatever neural network code I have designed, and the first day you can change the activation function from sigmoid to ReLU in that specific code, only just writing these numbers of code. Now the next activation function is known as sigmoid activation function. See, as I have stated, the basic formulation is same. Means first you use pyplot, and then you just have to write a function where you can calculate the functionality of the sigmoid function. See, sigmoid activation function is calculated as 1 by divided by 1.0 plus exponential of minus x. That is, this is a mathematical constant, see, which is based on natural calculation, exponential calculation. So the function here, what it is doing, here this function takes any real value as input and output values are ranges between 0 to 1. So here the concept is larger the input, means if the input is more positive, the closer the output value will be closer to 1. Means if your input value is positive, then we can expect that whatever output we are getting using this activation function, it will be closer to 1. And we can say that on the other hand, if the input value is more negative, then the output value expected will be closer to 0.0. So this is the concept of activation function. And what I have done, I haven't modified this portion. I have borrowed this portion from the previous section. Here I have just created the range of inputs and outputs, and I have plotted the sigmoid function. See, sigmoid function, see, it looked like S. That's why it is known as sigmoid function, right? So this is another activation function. And after sigmoid function, what activation function we will choose to use? That is hyperbolic tangent activation function. That is this one. Now see, the hyperbolic tangent activation function, which is also referred as tanh function, which is very similar to the previous shape. See, it is also similar to sigmoid function. The shape of the function is just similar to this one, right? So what it does, whenever you are dealing with hyperbolic tanh function, what will happen? So this function will take any real value as input and output value, which is ranges between -1 to 1. So whenever I was talking about sigmoid function, it was ranging between 0 to 1. But here the range is -1 to 1. And here you have to remember one point, larger the input, means if your input is more positive, the closer your output will be, means the output will be nearer to 1. Alternatively, Negative means more negative input means your output will be closer to -1. So this thing you have to keep in mind. So in case of sigmoid function, more negative input means it is closer to 0. But it is in case of hyperbolic tangent function, more negative input means it is closer to -1. And the formula of tan h is this one. And if you execute this code, and then you will get this kind of shape. So now immediately after doing this thing, so what we are discussing, so the hyperbolic tangent function and the sigmoid function that we are talking about, all activation functions can be applied in the hidden layer, right? So this thing we can implement for our code. But here there is one question, that is how to choose a hidden layer activation function, means which activation function we should select. So now there is no straightforward answer. So whenever it is asked that, say you have one neural network, definitely you will have one hidden layer. Then how you can choose particular activation function, because you have many activation functions, so you can say that it depends on the architecture. So what is the meaning? I am giving you a very small chart, and I am just giving this chart from my experience, that whenever we are talking about neural network, say we have many kinds of neural network, that is, say, multi-layer perceptron that we were talking about. Then we have convolution neural network, which is used as CNN. It is very popular neural network which is used for deep learning, image processing. And we have another class of deep learning neural network which is known as recurrent neural network. Now, whenever we are dealing with multi-layer perceptron neural network, then the activation function which is used in hidden layer, that is ReLU activation. CNN preferred to use again ReLU activation. However, whenever we are dealing with recurrent neural network, it prefers to use sigmoid, or sometimes it preferred to use tan h, depending on what is the purpose of this neural network, means what it is going to predict. So depending on the prediction objective, the activation function chosen by the recurrent neural network varies from either sigmoid function to tan h function. So you have to remember this chart. So this is not a fixed rule, but I can say that since I have done several projects, so from my experience, I can give you this chart. So this thing you have to keep in mind. So here the conclusion is, the type of activation function for a hidden layer for a certain neural network totally depends on architecture, and sometimes it depends on the objective of the prediction or the type of prediction by the neural network, right? Now, as I have stated that we can use activation function in the hidden layer, also we can use the activation function for the output layer. So what is this output layer doing? So this is input layer, this is hidden layer, and then we have one output layer, and we have fully connected neural network, right? So now the output layer is the layer in the neural network model that directly outputs the prediction. So from this section we are getting the prediction directly. So all feed-forward neural network model have an output layer. So there are, perhaps in this section you can use three kinds of activation functions, and they are known as linear activation function. Then second one is logistic, or you can say that sigmoid activation function, and the third type of activation function is known as softmax activation function. See, in the output layer, there is less chance of using this 10H activation function, right? So this thing you have to keep in mind. So whatever types I am giving, these types are applied on output layer. That is the neuron which is used in the output layer. So now what is this linear output activation function? Again, I will use the same concept. See, the linear activation function will look like this. And here, this is the formulation of the linear activation function. So the linear activation function, which is also known as identity or no activation function. So identity activation function, no activation function, it is same as linear activation function. So you have to keep in mind, and it will look like this. So running this example, what it will calculate? It will calculate the output for the range value and creates a plot input versus output. So it is just a input versus output plot. That is, we can see this diagonal line kind of shape where inputs are plotted against identical outputs, right? So target values used to train a model with a linear activation function in the output layer are typically scaled prior to modeling, means using some normalization or transformation, some kind of transformation is used. So it's a simple thing, input versus output. And we can also use sigmoid activation function, and we can also use another kind of activation function. Sigmoid function I have already discussed the shape, but see what is our actual topic of discussion today. See, there is another activation function which is new thing which is applied to the output layer, that is known as softmax activation function. And now if you see the output of this softmax activation function, you will not be able to understand anything. So here my point is, today we are going to discuss what is the actual logic behind this softmax activation function and why we are getting this kind of output 0.09 and there is 0.66. So to understand this thing, we have to understand 2 or 3 more topics. So the most important activation function is softmax function, which is used in the output neuron of a particular neural network architecture. And now we have to focus on understanding this softmax function because they are not so easy to understand. So let's start with the concept of softmax activation function. But see, this softmax activation function, like other activation function, they are mathematical function. And what it does, see, it basically performs some conversion. Means it is basically used for converting a vector. Means we can say that if you have number of inputs or if you have vectors of numbers, then it will convert all those vector numbers into vector probabilities. This thing is something new. So the main objective of this softmax function is converting vector numbers into vector probabilities. So this thing you have to keep in mind. But see, in order to understand softmax function, you have to understand other functions which are also known as max function, argmax function, and then only you can realize what is the meaning of softmax function. So let's start with max function, then we will discuss about argmax function, and then we will talk about softmax function. And I'm not going into the theoretical details, you just have to see the code. So whenever I am talking about max function, so what is this max function? You have to keep in mind. Pay attention to this code. Though it is a very small code, but it is one of the most significant code. See, max function means the maximum or the max mathematical function, means it returns the largest numeric value for a list of numeric values. So what is the output? See, we have one data list 132 and it is returning 3 because it is a maximum number. So it's a simple thing. So the output is 3. So what is new in it? Now pay attention to this. Now if I design argmax function, means instead of max, if I write over here argmax, then what will happen? See, this argmax function is again a mathematical function, but see what is the output. See, I am using the same data list 132, but argmax is returning y. Sorry, the argmax is returning 1. Now the question is why? See, basically this argmax is returning the index of the largest value. Means you can think of it as a meta version of this max function. Means max function is sending you the highest number. However, it is sending the index of the highest number. So here 0, this is the 0th index, this is the first index, and this is the second index. And see here, this argmax function is returning 1, means it is returning the index of the largest value. So that's why argmax function is considered as meta version of the max function. But what is our topic of discussion? Our topic of discussion is the softmax function. But while defining softmax function, because we have to try out all this, means we have to decode the output also. So at this point of time, so whenever we are talking about softmax function, try to understand it is converting vector into some kinds of probability. So what is this concept is all about? See, I am just implementing the same list, that is 132. So this is the data list I am using. So if you consider this data list, this one 132, in the probabilistic perspective, so the argmax function is returning 1, that we have already discussed. Now consider whenever we are using the same concept, using some new kinds of mathematical approach, means how the concept of probability can be achieved in this simple logic. See, one thing we can do, we can perform scaling in the values. That is, if we impute the concept of scaling, we can get the probabilistic approach. So what is this? See, probability means, first I'm showing you the concept. If I am talking about some kind of probability, then what we have to do, we have to deal with some exponential values, means we have to perform some kind of scaling. Scaling means exponential value divided by sum of some variable in the list, and then exponential value of this variable. So here max and argmax, they are dealing with a particular list of value, something like this. And here softmax is not dealing with the value. Softmax is dealing with the input vectors in order to convert it into some probabilistic concept. So basically softmax uses this concept. Means whenever we have some input and we have the activation function as softmax, then it will use this kind of calculation. Now how it is performed? So I'm giving you this simple idea. So this is our list 1, 3 and 2. So if I am using max function, the output is 3, the highest number. If I am use argmax, it is giving the index value of the highest number, that is 1. And now see how softmax works. See, For an example, say we are considering this value 1 and I'm using softmax function. So in the list 1, 3, 2, how we can convert this value 1 into probability? See, then we will convert this 3 into probability and then we will convert this 2 into probability. So let's check this one, how this 1 is converted to probability. So then we have to write probability is equal to which value I want to pick? 1. So I will consider exponential value of 1, then divided by sum of. Sum of means here I have to calculate exponential value of 1, this one, plus exponential value of 3, this one, plus exponential value of 2. So by calculating this thing, we will be able to find the direct converted form or the vector probability for this number. So exponential of 1, if you calculate, it is near about 2.7 something. So you just go and calculate, and if you calculate this part, exponential of 1, exponential of 3, exponential of 2, I have calculated it previously. So it is giving near about 30.1, this kind of value, 19 kind of value, and then you will get by dividing this thing, you will get near about this 0.090, this kind of value. So this is how this 1 can be converted to probability. Similarly, you can apply this concept to 3, and then similarly you can apply this concept to 2. Now see, whenever you have 1, the probabilistic output is this one for the value 1. Now see the output. See, whenever we are using these numbers, or I have already given you this one. So whenever you have 1 over here, so what is the output here? See, it is 0.090, and now you can understand from where this value is coming. This 1 is converted to probabilities by calculating exponential of 1 divided by exponential of 1 plus exponential of 3 plus exponential of 2. Similarly, how this value is coming? So again, the same formula is applied for this, and how this value is coming, it is getting this. So this is how this softmax function will work. So we can see now see here is one output which is 1.0. So now we have to consider one more thing while dealing with softmax. See, softmax works on the concept of giving weights, means it will assign some weights to some particular index, means it will assign weight in order to replicate more importance to some value. So among 1, 3, 2, see, the more important value is 3 for our case, for an example. So it will try to assign maximum weight to the 3, or that is the maximum weight to the index value of 3. So now we have to understand the concept of maximum weight assignment. Then only we can understand what is the meaning of this 1.0. So here also you are getting the same answer, that is, after getting the probabilistic output, you are getting 1.0 or 1.0. See here what we are doing. So finally we are using softmax function, which is coming from NumPy. In order to calculate softmax function, an array of list we have considered. Now we have to understand one simple example in order to understand softmax function and the weighted concept. Also, I will discuss the concept of one hot encoding over here. See, consider a situation, means for an example, we are using multi-class classification problem. So here consider multi-class classification problem, means we have more than 2 classes in our input data. Means more than 2 class labels we are having. So we have to prepare the data accordingly, and the target variable will contain the class labels, say 0 to n minus 1. I don't know how many classes should be there, so we can expect that we may have 0 to n minus number of classes. And here n denotes the number of class labels. Right? So we are dealing with multi-class classification. Now, whenever we have the class labels, in case of Irish, we have Setosa, versicolor and virginica. So whenever we have categorical class level, they must be encoded. Encoded means they must be converted to integers. So we can name Irish Setosa as 0 class, versicolor as 1 and virginica as 2. So this is how multi-class class levels are encoded into integers, right? So we can apply this thing up to n minus 1 number of classes. So now here you have to consider this thing. So basically we are talking about when we have 3 class levels. So we can say that we have class 0, we have class 1 and we have class 2. So why I have considered 3 value of classes? Because it is a multi-class classification problem and we are expecting more than 2 classes. Fine. So here see how this integer encoding is performed. So whenever we have class 0, say it is written as 1 0 0. Say whenever I am having class 1, say it is written as 0 1 0, and whenever I have class 2, it is written as 0 0 1. The question is why? See, class 0 means the first class, so that's why 1 is here and rest of the 2 classes are 0. Class 1 means the next class, so I'm not talking about the first class or I'm not talking about the last class, so it is a second class, so that's why 1 is here, and 2 means the third class, third kind of category, so that's why 1 is here. So this is how this encoding is performed. So basically it represents the expected, means multinomial probability distribution for each class, which uses the correct number of model under supervised learning. So it's a simple thing. So this kind of coding we can expect. Now see what we are doing. Means we are talking about weight assignment. So for an example, say if the integer encoded class 1, say we are talking about integer encoded class 1, and we are expecting to give some weightage to this class 1, say for an example. So this class is 0 1 0 class. So now the softmax output, how this output will look like. So if I apply softmax activation function, and by using this activation function, my objective is to put more importance on this section. If this is the input, then the output will look like say 0.09, 0.66 and 0.24. See, I am giving maximum weightage over here, means the error between the expected and the predicted multinomial probability distribution is calculated over here. So some kind of cross entropy is also used over here. So the concept is very simple. So when the consideration means after visualizing the output of the softmax function like this, you can also interpret that which portion has the maximum weightage applied on it. So it is 0.09, it is 0.66, it's 0.244. That is, maximum weightage is over here, that is 0.66. And why maximum weightage is over here? In our case, I have already considered this data value 132, and 3 is the maximum value. That's why max is giving the output as 3, but argmax is giving the index of this, but softmax is giving the probabilistic weightage which is applied on the maximum value 3. Means after calculating the probabilistic estimation using all this formula which is mentioned over here, the maximum weightage is given over here. So actually we are getting the maximum weightage as an output for the softmax function. So this is the main consideration that you have to keep in mind. So that's why the output of the softmax function is completely different than other two max functions. So this is the basic concept. So what we have learned so far in case of activation function. So let's conclude these things. So here we have learned that whenever we are talking about linear and sigmoid activation functions, they are inappropriate for multi-class classification task. So for that purpose, what kind of activation function we are using? Softmax. Now this one, it is completely inappropriate for multi-class classification. Second point, so softmax can be thought of as a softened version of argmax function. So whenever we are using the argmax function, the kind of meta interpretation we can say, or softer version of argmax is your softmax function. And it returns what? It returns index of the largest value, this function. Whereas we are expecting weights, maximum weights assigned to some certain value in case of softmax. And now what is the third point? How to implement the softmax function? It is one of the most important thing to remember. Why? Because it is a probabilistic approach, and always you have to remember this calculation. So this is the summary that what we have discussed. But whenever we have started our class, we started this concept from the activation function which is used in the hidden layer, right? And I have given you some kind of chart that is in hidden layer which activation functions are used for what architecture. So at that point of time, we can discuss we have discussed some more conclusion that we have already discussed. That is, first thing you have to remember, whenever we are talking about activation functions, they are the key part of the neural network. This thing we know. It's because activation function has its own implementation or own implementational importance in case of neural network design. Now, default activation function, whenever I'm talking about default activation function for hidden layers, then we generally prefer to use ReLU function. So except the RNN, so all other neural networks like CNN, feed-forward neural network, they prefer to use ReLU function in the hidden layer. So this thing is also discussed. And the third point, the activation function for output layer. So whenever we are talking about output layer, it depends on the types of prediction problem. So the final conclusion is, whenever you are going to implement the activation function for the output layer, first think what kind of task you are performing. Whenever you are using multi-layer kind of classification, say you are not using any binary kind of classification, 0 or 1, you have two classes. No, whenever you have multi-class classification, then you will prefer to use softmax instead of sigmoid or linear activation function. So the two conclusion always you have to keep in mind, activation function in hidden layer depends on the ANN architecture. However, activation function applied on output layer depends on prediction type. So this is the final conclusion of today's class. So here I have designed all kinds of possible activation functions. You can pick any of the activation functions from here and can use in your neural network code, any activation function. And you can get a good perspective of the activation function because the plots are also given. And in general, in the interview, the difference between tanh and sigmoid function is asked. So at that case, you have to remember both look same, but the only difference is the range 0 to 1 and 1 to -1. So this thing you have to keep in mind, right? So this is the basic concept of activation function, and today this is the last session of machine learning. So we have covered everything starting from the data science, classification, unsupervised learning, supervised learning, and also we have performed artificial neural network design. So if you have any question, you can ask me. Any question?
Ma'am, we have received tomorrow's link also for the machine learning.
No, this is the last class. So I'm going to inform it to Principal Ma'am. I have covered everything here.
Okay.
Ma'am will
Ma'am,
not
class
do
will
any.
not happen then.
No. There will be no class tomorrow.
ম্যাম কিছু কিছু জায়গায় ম্যাম রেলু ফাংশন ইউজ করে, বা আবার এক একটা জায়গায় দেখেছি ম্যাম ইউজ করতে লিকি রেলু ফাংশন বলে একটা।
Leaky ReLU function is another variation. You can ask me one question, that is, what is the difference between leaky ReLU and ReLU?
Yes,
See,
ma'am,
actually, when we are talking about deep neural network, means CNN, RNN, there is one problem. So the first question is, why people prefer to use deep neural network than other neural networks? See, whenever we are talking about neural network, it has a limited provision of holding the information. So whatever neural network design we have performed so far, so whenever we are talking about a single neuron, it has a very limited capability of holding the information. So the main purpose of designing the deep neural network is to hold the information of longer time series. So basically, for time series data, means if I want to perform weather forecasting, so we need a time series data of previous 100 years, right? So the reason for designing deep neural network is to hold the longer time series data. But what happens whenever the deep neural network was designed in 2006, first it was designed, people faced a problem which is known as vanishing gradient problem. That is, see, I have already discussed what is the basic functionality of the neural network. You are sending the information from input to output layer, and then you are calculating the error and you are back propagating everything. So while back propagation, you are actually performing multiplication. So due to the multiplication with the fraction number, what happens at the intermediate portion of time, some values will be lost. As a result, while back propagation, some informations are completely lost, so that in the input layer they are not getting anything. So whatever information was back propagated, they are vanished in the intermediate layers. So whenever people used to design deep neural network, means the hidden layers were large. We have large number of hidden layers and we have large number of neurons in the hidden layer. So while back propagation, some values are lost. This is the first problem. So this is known as vanishing gradient problem. So at that point of time in 2006, I guess people thought that this deep learning neural network model will not work. So at that point of time, this ReLU is replaced by leaky ReLU. So this leaky ReLU function perhaps can solve this problem of vanishing gradient, and it can retain more number of information of longer sequence. So that's why leaky ReLU is more appropriate whenever we are talking about deep neural network, right? So whenever you're dealing with feed forward backpropagation networks, so we have very limited number of hidden layers. So they are not deep neural networks. So there are no question of vanishing gradient problem. So you can use ReLU, right? But whenever you are talking about deep neural network, then there is a chance of vanishing gradient, though we have other new networks which are not prone to vanishing gradient problems. However, at that point of time, for the safer side, people prefer to use leaky ReLU. So this is the concept of leaky ReLU. So understood?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Understood.
Any other question?
Ma'am, you will be giving any assignment on this?
I will discuss it with principal ma'am. Means whether it is dependent, means the certificate is dependent on this assignment or not. So whatever assignment I have given previously, all evaluation will be done on the basis of that assignments. But if you like, I will give you one assignment, that is whatever coding I have already circulated for neural network. I want to see that you are using this different kinds of sigmoid functions in that code, and you are just verifying the output. So I will upload that assignment in the classroom. You can try this one, but this assignment is not mandatory.
Okay, ma'am.
So can anyone take the attendance?
Yes, taken the attendance, ma'am. I will send you. in WhatsApp.
Okay. So the concept of activation function is clear, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And whenever people are talking about activation function, first ask them, you are using activation function where? On the output layer or the hidden layer? So this will be the first question you should ask.
Ma'am, what kind of interview question comes from this activation function? And
So-
and the other one that you taught in the last class?
See, from the neural network part, there is one question that will be always asked to you about the activation function, that is, which activation function you prefer to use in which scenario. So then, if you know neural network, then there will be one answer, that is, see, if I am using activation function in the hidden layer, then it depends on the architecture. Neural network architecture means whatever activation function CNN will use, RNN will not use the same activation function. So architecture to architecture, it differs. And whenever I'm using activation function on the output layer, then it depends on the type of prediction. If you are working on a data set where you have 5 classes, it's a problem of multi-class classification, then definitely the choice of means activation function will differ. Whenever you are dealing with binary classification, means you have only 2 classes, just like cancer data set, benign or malignant. At that point of time, whatever activation function you are using, it will be completely differ from multi-class classification. So this is the main question that will be asked. Now the second question is, what do you mean by backpropagation? Means why we need backpropagation. So whatever concept I have stated, that is, we want to minimize the output. So how we can minimize the output? So after propagating the information in the forward direction, we are calculating the output, and we are comparing it with the expected output, and in order to minimize that error, we will back propagate the information again, and we will keep on this training process. So this back propagation concept will be asked, and and the third question will be asked, what should be the value of the learning rate? Means what will happen if the learning rate is too large, and what will happen if the learning rate is too low. So whatever concept I have explained, so this will be asked to you. So these are the very three basic questions that will be asked in the interview in case of neural network. And there is one more question, that is, what's the difference between ReLU and ReLU? So this question may be asked, but it's a part of deep learning. So probably it's an advanced question.
From supervised and unsupervised learning?
In case of supervised and unsupervised learning, people prefer to ask you the question from PCA, means why we need dimensionality reduction. Then they will ask one question, that is, what do you mean by correlation analysis? So I have given you the idea, whenever we are measuring correlation between two features, then high correlation is a bad thing. But whenever we are measuring the correlation between a feature and the target, then high correlation means for calculating that output, that feature is essential. So the concept of correlation analysis, the concept of PCA, means why we need dimensionality reduction, what are the different techniques of dimensionality reduction, these questions will be asked. And don't expect the question that they will ask you what is the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning. No, they will never ask. But they can ask you the question from K-means clustering algorithm, why it is important and how this clustering will work. So this kind of question you can expect.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
So I will share this code with you all. Try all these
Yeah, ma'am.
codes for data that you have already downloaded either from Kaggle or UCI. So you can now design your own project.
Okay, ma'am.
And you can ping me anytime, no problem. If you are stuck in somewhere in your project, I'm always there to help you. Thank you everyone for joining this long session. We are doing this session for last 2 months, I guess. And we have Puja holiday in between. But anyways, thank you for your patience. I think you have learned something from this session.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you everyone.